I'm at the bad guy for insisting on my personal space and privacy, even though my roommate thinks it's unreasonable. Hello, I'm a female, 22. I share a small apartment with my roommate, who I'll know for about a year. We get along pretty well most of the time, but lately we've been having some disagreements about personal space and privacy. I'm the type of person who likes to have some alone time and quiet space to recharge. I work from home for a few hours every day, and I also enjoy reading, meditating, and doing yoga in my room. I've always made it clear to my roommate that I need some privacy and quiet during these times, and she's generally respected that. However, lately she's been having some personal issues that have made her more clingy and needy. She's been coming into my room unannounced, interrupting me while I work, and even trying to join me during my yoga sessions. I've tried to talk to her about it and explain that I need some space, but she been dismissive and said that I'm being too uptight. Last night was the final straw. I was in my room doing some stretches before bed, and my roommate barged in without knocking. I was in a compromising position and felt really embarrassed and violated. I told her that it was unacceptable and that I need her to respect my boundaries, but she just rolled her eyes and said that I was overreacting. I've been thinking about it all day, and I feel like I'm in the right here. I don't think it's unreasonable to want some personal space and privacy, especially in my own room. But my roommate seems to think that I'm being too rigid and unsympathetic to her needs. I'm not the bad guy for insisting on my boundaries, or should I try to be more accommodating? I'm not the bad guy for bringing up the fact my brother hasn't had a steady job since he graduated 3 years ago. Today we had a little barbecue for Memorial Day at my mom's house, and my brother, who is 21, was noticeably tired and not really speaking unless spoken to. But he's kind of always been like that. It was enough to be noticeably worse today, though. I asked him how he was doing, and he said he's fine and just had a long night with his friends on PlayStation. I told him he should have probably planned to go to sleep early, so he had an energy for the barbecue today, and he sarcastically responded that he couldn't help it. I regret my response of this, but I said, maybe you would have more energy if you had a job. His demeanor quickly shifted, and he is pretty insulted. But it's been a recurring argument between us that he needs to go off his ass and help our mom with the rent. But for some reason, he just doesn't. No matter how hard he barked and pat him, he wouldn't budge. He's not in college, and the only money he makes is when he goes sledging with my dad, which isn't a real job and only happens a few times a month. Eventually, he started crying and ran to his room. My mom was pissed at me for ruining the barbecue, which I didn't expect it to happen, and told me I should probably leave. I'm 23, and I've had a job ever since high school, and I'm in college currently. I moved out when I was 19 and never looked back. But for some reason, my mom isn't as strict with my brother as she was with me. She occasionally sends him links to places that are hiring, and that's it. Honestly, he's just got a heart of gold and lots of friends and family who adore him. I just wish he had a job to help my overworked mom out. So, I'm not the bad guy here. I'm not the bad guy for demanding the family ring. Hello, I'm a female 26 and my fiancé male 13 are engaged. And our wedding is set to be in 1 week. My fiancé proposed to me last year and gifted me a beautiful diamond ring. My fiancé were engaged before me when he was 22 years old, and his ex-fiancée Sarah was his best friend, but the relationship didn't work out, and they broke up. Now they have semi-friend relationship because they have a lot of mutual friends. I never actually liked her. She full of herself, but we didn't cross paths, so we were cool. Last week in my bachelorette party that my sister-in-law prepared for me, Sarah came wearing a stunning diamond ring, very unique one, and looks very familiar. And she started showing her ring. But I thought good for her. She have a beautiful ring. Later I had my sister-in-law telling Sarah she was a bad guy for wearing the ring and she'll take it off. So later I asked my sister-in-law why she told Sarah that. And she told me that was our family heirloom that her great-grandfather made that my fiancé gifted Sarah. He proposed with that ring. I will be lying if I told I wasn't angry. She initially wore that ring so she could show off. I asked my sister-in-law why didn't Sarah return the ring. She told me that Sarah refused to return it because she loved it so much, and mother-in-law instead that it was okay. I found it very weird that she still has it, especially because of his great value to the family. Yesterday in the family dinner, my mother-in-law told me in front of everyone, "Don't be sad, we like Sarah, so she can have that family ring because she's family." I didn't tell anyone, not even my fiancé, what happened in the party, and my sister-in-law didn't also. And before I said anything, my fiancé told his mother that she stole that ring, and no one even likes Sarah. She's your friend, daughter, and not family, and Sarah was uninvited from the wedding because of her behavior. Of course, mother-in-law though a tantrum, but stopped when he told her that he will uninvite her too. Later that night, my father-in-law apologized to mother-in-law behavior and told me that it's okay to demand that ring because it's yours. Today at uni, Sarah comes to me still wearing that ring and demand that I invite her back to the wedding, and not to be pity. And oh boy, that was the last straw. I demanded that she hand me the ring and that she stole what mine. I just get a text in my fiancé family group chat from mother-in-law saying, "What the hell was going on?" So I'm the bad guy here. I'm the bad guy for calling out a co-worker's inappropriate behavior in front of everyone. Recently at work, I stood up for my co-worker after she has been repeatedly sexually harassed at work. My co-worker is extremely beautiful, intelligent, and kind. Because of this, she constantly receives sweet compliments and unfortunately inappropriate ones too. Today she texted me at work asking if I could come comfort her, as she was having a panic attack. When I asked her what happens, my coworker proceeded to tell me the most blood-boiling encounter she had with an older female coworker. This old employee pulled my friend aside to tell her that no one likes or respects her because of the way she dresses. She repeatedly questioned her intelligence, blamed her for the thoughts, actions, and comments the men at work make. She filled her with the belief that everyone talks behind her back and tried to rub it in a pretty, disdainful bow, claiming this was all because she looked out for her. This is one of multiple encounters that she had with people at our work sexualizing her, commenting on her body or appearance. Much older co-workers making passes at her. Some of them even offering to be sugar daddies. None of these issues has been handled correctly in my opinion, as every offender has not received more than a half-ass slap on the wrist after many complaints regarding their behavior. All of them still employed by the company, all of them still making inappropriate conversations surrounding her at work. I was fed up. I marched over and called the specific woman out in front of the other offenders. I told her I lost all respect for her and that I found her behavior inappropriate and way out of line. I let her know it's not her responsibility to comment on my friend's work attire at all, as she's not a manager and her clothing does not break in company dress code. I reported this behavior to my manager as my friend will not have the courage to herself. I'm disgusted and ready to quit and walk out with her. My boss and some of my other coworkers are upset with me for causing a scene at work and say it wasn't my place to address the issue. So am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for not letting my ex take our daughter and move in with her new boyfriend? I don't even know where to start. My ex and I co-parent a wonderful 9-year-old daughter. I'm not my daughter's biological father. I found out she was not mine when she was 3. I left my ex but stayed in life of my daughter because I was already dead and the bio father was not interested. We share 50-50 custody and have been able to co-parent effectively other than the last year. About 19 months ago, my ex got mad at me for having concerns about issues when she was parenting. I won't go into detail, but our ability to co-parent broke down. She took me to court and tried to force a DNA test and have my name removed from the birth certificate to where my daughter basically wouldn't have a dad. My daughter was 7 years old at the time, and I've been dead since before she was born. I got an attorney, and long story short, it did not go well for her at all. The hearing officer was disgusted by what she was attempting to do as my daughter knew me as dad, and we had an extremely close relationship. I'm a good dad, and I was able to prove it. I basically got to dictate terms of parenting plan. My child support was drastically lowered from what I was paying, and I was allowed to claim my daughter every other year for taxes. After the parenting plan was put in place, we patched things up and got into a good rhythm of co-parenting like we once had. There was no more threatening to keep my daughter from me, and my ex respected me as a co-parent a lot more because she's terrified of going back to court again. I have proof of her drinking and driving one time with my daughter in the car. It was recording of her admitting it, as well as a few other issues that have happened since going to court. Fast forward to a couple months ago, my ex meets a guy and starts spending a lot of time with him. From what my daughter and ex tell me, he's a pretty legit guy. I have no reason to have an issue with him. I hear nothing but positive stuff about him from my daughter. Well, after dating about 8 weeks, my ex tells me that she's going to move in her house about 1.5 hours away with my daughter. This will involve uprooting her from everything she knows, moving her away from me and having her change schools to a much more inferior school. My ex has a terrible track record with guys and have been in several abusive relationships. One of the men beat her so bad that he was one of my state's most wanted fugitives for what he did to her. But this was all before my daughter was born. He's my daughter's biological father. I told my ex that because their relationship has only been going on for 9 weeks. She was free to move in with him, but my daughter will not be joining them, and we will have to rethink the custody arrangements that were have primary physical if they move forward. My ex became irritated and told me that her boyfriend, who she's very much in love with, is threatening to leave her if they don't move in together because of the distance between them. That was another red flag, that the relationship is so fragile that this could cause a breakup. I'm terrified that my ex is going to get herself in a position where she lives with this guy. There is violence of fighting and she can't escape. And my daughter will witness all of this. Because that's the history my ex has with relationships. Every other relationship other than ours had violence in it. I told my ex that she should renew her lease and I will renew mine. And a year from now, if they are still together and happy, I will be willing to move to that city as well to make it all easy for everyone and our daughter. and I will not contest my daughter living there. Part of me feels like I'm being inappropriate and controlling by basically dictating my ex's relationship terms. But the other part of me feels like my concerns are legitimate and that my daughter's life should not be uprooted for a relationship that is only 8 weeks old. And it's fancy. I feel like I have a moral responsibility to kind of put guardrails on some of the decisions my ex makes when it affects my daughter due to her terrible decisions in the past. I've sacrificed a lot in life to make sure my daughter has a stable life, and I have always made myself the most stable person around her. It's why we have such a close relationship. I know it's a long story, and there is almost to it, but am I being a controlling big guy here? I want my ex to be happy, she deserves that, but I also have to watch out for my kiddo. I'm using the threat of legal action to control my ex. That's a fact. I'm not at all afraid to follow through with it. I'm at the bad for not watching my sister's dog so I could go to a football game. This has been an argument going on for the last 6 months between my sister and I. Our parents have stayed out of it, so I turn to you. My sister and her husband went to visit her in-laws over Thanksgiving for 5 days and taking a red-eye back home on Saturday night. She asked me to stop by and check on her dog each day and gave me $100. I told her okay, but on the Saturday night, I might not be able to do it and told her to find someone else just in case. I was going to my college rivalry game and wasn't going to be available. I go to multiple games a year and she knows this. We live pretty close to each other, so it isn't an inconvenience and I generally like her dogs. She wanted me to walk them 3 times a day, let them go to the bathroom and feed them twice a day. I did that every day until Saturday. That day I got up early, went tailgating, watched us beat our rival for only the 3rd time in 50 tries. Then went out after celebrating. I got pretty hammered and has assumed that my sister found someone else. Well, she didn't. She claims I didn't tell her I was going to the game and she assumes I was just watching the game at my house, even though I told her I was going to the game. I woke up to calls shortly after I went to bed asking why I didn't take care of her dogs Saturday. Apparently, it was pretty apparent that no one had walked them, feed them, or let them out to go to the bathroom. She chewed me out and called me a bad guy. Being drunk, I just hung up and turned my phone so silent. After I had sobered up hours later, I called her back. We had it out and she was pissed. Over the last 6 months, she still brings it up and wants her money back. I maintain that it wasn't my fault and told her I'm keeping the money. So, am I the bad guy here? What do you think?